Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Breakfast with Brian. As some of you will realise, I made an error posting the last edition, and so it arrived 2 days late. This one then might seem a little early, but never mind. Here we go. Romans again. Romans. This time, chapter 13. What an amazing chapter that is. Very direct, very straight to the point. I'll read just some of it now. Everyone, that's you, that's me, must submit himself to the governing authorities. And then it goes on to talk about who those governing authorities are and what is necessary to be done, especially in the context of the early New Testament church, which, as you will recall, did not have a government that it had elected. It was under the rule of Caesar, an authority that, depending on the Caesar in power, could be benevolent or it could be very difficult to handle. I notice that nowhere in the Bible does it suggest to the early Christians that they are to try and influence the government in any way through any means. But it talks in the Bible about praying for our leaders. It talks about submitting to our leaders. Now, in this day and age where we tend towards the other extreme of people wanting to have a say in everything and wanting to dictate what happens, we have a different scenario. And yet it isn't much different when you stop to think about it. You see, we have what we call democracy. Instead of being ruled by a despotic king or emperor, we're now ruled by people that we choose. And sometimes we don't like who we've chosen. We disagree with what they're doing. We don't like what they're saying. When it all boils down to it, you see, it goes back much further than New Testament days. It goes back to the days when God was king. He ruled. But the people of Israel wanted a king like the other nations. And he told them, if you have a king, he will tax you, he will take your young men to war, he will do all sorts of things. If you want that, well, go ahead and have a king. So God reluctantly allowed his people to have a human king. Human governors, human rulers, human presidents, human prime ministers. All of these people are imperfect, every one of them. And yet somehow we expect our leaders to be perfect, to do everything right. And we ignore the fact that we live in a fallen world. Our leaders do not do everything that is right. So where are you placed in all of this? In Peter, the first letter of Peter, it says there that we are aliens and strangers in this world. Aliens and strangers, that's in 1 Peter 2:11, or just before 11, maybe 10. We are aliens and strangers in this world. In other places in the New Testament, it talks about us being citizens of heaven, not citizens of earth. So we have a king. We have chosen a king, chosen to abide by his will, his law, his rule. And sometimes our human rulers say and do things which conflict with our heavenly king, in which case we still obey our heavenly king, Jesus. Meanwhile, it says that we're to submit to these authorities in every way we can. Live it where it's possible with you, live at peace with all people, including our governments. But somehow we want to fight them, forgetting, I think, that we are not citizens of earth, we are citizens of heaven. This is not our home. We're traveling through here. So, as I read this passage from Romans, it just made me think again about how we think about rulers, how we get so upset with them. Really, it's no more than we should expect, because they are fallen. And even though they might be Christian, they are still fallen and make mistakes. Although as someone who is a Christian leader, then the Holy Spirit can speak to him and speak through him and give him wisdom about what he should do and how he should lead. But even so, God is our King. God is our ruler. God is our president. God is our prime minister. God is who is in power. Not elected. We submit to him. Wonder if this makes a difference to the way that we think about our governments, politics, and so many of the issues that face us today. Think about it. God bless you, and good morning from Breakfast with Brian.